Welcome in, Loons fans, to another edition of the Matchday Preview. Jonathan Harrison here, joined once again by Manny Lagos. Manny, it's always better to do these podcasts after a pair of wins than after anything else.
Without a doubt. And plus, multiple competitions to talk about today. So,
Yes.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, we got plenty to discuss. We got a couple wins for the Loons, a 2-1 win at St. Louis that was a little challenging at times. Then there was the 4-1 win last night in Leagues
A
Cup play,
little
which
challenge at times. Yeah, we'll get into it. That might be a little bit.
might be underselling it a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah.
We'll get into that. We'll get into the 4-1 win last night in Leagues Cup play and then preview the rest of the Leagues Cup action for the Loons. All right, let's jump into MLS action from the weekend. The big one, there was a couple big matches this weekend, Manny, across Major League Soccer. The big one that had the most controversy and most news, we'll talk about that one. We'll get the messy of it all out of the way. Inter Miami 0, FC Cincinnati 0, but Miami had no Jordi Alba or no Lionel Messi because they chose not to play in the MLS All-Star game. Before we jump into the match and discuss the match, let's talk about your thoughts on the rule of if you skip out on the All-Star game without prior reason to do it, without an injury reason to do it, you get suspended for the next match. I know this became a huge talking point for Miami fans and Miami executives down there, that this wasn't a great rule, wasn't a great look for the league. Where do you stand on this rule? I think it needed to be enforced because it's been enforced in the past, but this was a big call for MLS to make to suspend Lionel Messi.
Yeah, I mean, my viewpoint is, listen, I love this game. I know it wasn't invented here, and this global world game is so special and so unique, and it's amazing the rise in this country. I feel very similar to playoffs though when I put a little bit of a hard stand on the fact that we have to do things the version of ourselves, and that's why I love playoffs, and I believe in playoffs, and I think they're amazing. I think it's an extenuation of how we kind of operate in this country, and I think it's a great storytelling way to present a season. And it's very successful in our sports, and I think it's successful in MLS. I don't think anybody, well, people might debate me, but I feel like I'd win the debate about how awesome I think the playoffs are. Similarly, like the All-Star game is a very special, unique situation that is debatable in other sports too, but it's such an important part of the fabric, not only the celebration midway part of the season, but also a huge part of how our sponsorship family partners get to kind of celebrate their relationship with MLS and the relationship with the league. And so, I spoke to Michael Boxall, and the league does an amazing job of hosting these guys, amazing job of making them feel like individually they're having a very special season. And it's a part of our fabric. And ultimately, there's not a lot of taxing physical toughness in the week for these guys. Some of them can play only 15 minutes if they want. Most of them play a max of 30-ish. Very rarely, some might get 45 if you're a goalie or a defender. So ultimately, for me, I think the league was in the right here. At the end of the day, it's part of every guy's contract to show up if they get selected. He probably didn't even have to really step on the field very long at all, if at all. Just show up and be part of the presentation, part of the sponsors, part of the fans who are kind of signed into the culture of MLS and culture of American sports. So I think Don Garber was in the right. I don't think there's a way around it. I think, in this space, there's definitely ways we can treat Messi in a different way than the rest of the league in terms of how much media gets, how much attention, how much security. But when it comes to certain things like this, everybody steps on the field and plays. Everybody steps on the field and has the same rules in soccer to win games. And ultimately, he broke those rules. And the MLS, to try to get guys' behavior to change, is say, hey, you break our rules, you're not playing the next game.
Yeah, and I think we can debate the legitimacy of the rule if we want, but the rule's the rule. It's there. It's been enforced in the past, most instances. So you have to follow it. I mean, there would have been 28 fan bases across the league that were losing their mind, and 28 different front offices losing their mind if the league allowed Messi to play this one and let him bend the rules just because he's Lionel Messi. I think it had to be done, and anybody using this suspension as a talking point for him saying that he might not want to re-sign with the league because of it. If that's the reason why you're not going to re-sign, then you didn't really want to be here in the first place. I mean, let's be honest. That's not a very good reason to not re-sign with the club. or a league. So I don't
Oh,
know.
and
I don't
again,
buy that
I think
talking
he's
point
the
at all.
greatest player of all time, and in some ways, you could say because of that, he's bigger in terms of his accolades than the league. Yes,
Yeah.
and globally, he's a huge brand, and there's billions of people. But ultimately, like I don't. Nobody's bigger than the league in terms of just the individuality versus team. This is a team sport.
Mhm,
Uh,
absolutely. So it was a 0-0 draw down there between Cincinnati and Miami. Kept both those teams in pace for the top of the Eastern Conference, which I think when you look at the standings and look at where things are falling between the top of the East and the top of the West, that is a much tougher race at the top of the East than it is at the top of the West. I know the Loons are in the race at the top of the West. There's only really three teams that I feel like at this point at the top of the West, whereas it feels like there's what, five, six teams at the top of the East that could battle for that top spot, that number one spot in the Eastern Conference. The race in the Eastern Conference, once again, is going to be incredible drama down the final 9 weeks of the season.
yeah, I mean, we should probably check the tape, Jonathan. I think I said a couple months ago, the East is the tougher conference. I
Yeah.
mean, we're in the West, and it's really hard, and there's great teams. But when you just go over the rosters and even the financial investments into the teams, the East certainly has a lot more kind of money. And I think they also have a lot more kind of identity of certain teams that are being competitive. And I think the Messi factor adds to why the East has just a little bit tighter of a at the top versus the West.
Going over to the Western Conference, I'm going to lump a couple of these games all together in just one big talking point. Portland won, LAFC nil, a bit of a shock result there, but both those teams right around the same area in the table. But LAFC, as the Loons saw a couple weeks ago, have been charging up the Western Conference table, been in really good form coming out of a disappointing Club World Cup, and it looked like they had been really angling to charge up the Western Conference and really challenge for the top of the Western Conference. Seattle battle out to a 2-2 draw with one of the best goals of the season in the late strike by Atlanta to rescue a point there at home against Seattle. So couple drop points for teams that could have been going into the final 9 weeks of the season challenging at the top of the Western Conference. And now there's a little bit of a gap there between the top three teams and then the next tier in the Western Conference because of those two results alone, Manny.
Yeah, no doubt the results excitingly went our way. I think the Portland one, it's so funny how little moments matter sometimes for the next game. And I think that goal that Portland scored against us when I thought we played so well and deserved the 3 points really lifted them in a way that I was very surprised. They had an outstanding game. I mean, they really shut it down. And I don't, my gut tells me they haven't had too many shutouts this year based on the way they play defense. But what a great result for them. I mean, to get a 1-0 win on the road against a high-powered offensive team, really impressive. I credit to them. That was a great result.
We talked last week with Callum Williams about the potential sign of Young Mensung for LAFC. Does that, if that goes through, if that pushes through and that becomes finalized, nothing saying it is at this point. I don't remember the last report that I saw from Tom Bokert on it, but it's still a thing that is kind of happening. It feels like that might happen for LAFC. If that happens, is that a signing that can put them over the top this season, Manny?
I mean, it certainly is exciting to see where it goes. On paper, it feels like it would be more impactful than Giroud, but at the end of the day, we were kind of in the same boat last year talking about, or was it 2 years ago, a year and a half ago? We were talking about Giroud being this huge impact, and it didn't turn out. So I think it's one of those ones where, whew, well done. It's good. I love the transfer news right now. Mueller to potentially to Vancouver. Obviously, DePaul got through, which is exciting for
Mm-hmm.
Miami, and that's a pretty impressive signing. It would be exciting for the league for sure. What it does to their team, obviously, it does create. If they can play the way they've been playing defense the last 2 months, and then add him into it and not detract from that kind of shape and organization they've had, whew, yeah, that it does. But if it hurts, and now they get more stretched and they don't have that same defensive identity, I'm not so sure because they still. It seems to me like they found a defensive identity without Giroud, which has kind of pushed them a little bit higher until this Portland loss this weekend.
Where do you fit him on the field? I mean, I know he's one of those players where you just put him on the field and you make everything else work around him. But you already have Denny Bawanga, who tends to favor that left side as well. So where do you put him on? How do you make those two pieces fit together? It feels like those two should just kind of naturally work. We've seen Denny Bawanga kind of pop up on the right-hand side, but generally tends to favor the left side of the field. How do you make those two guys fit and work and coalesce at the same time on the field?
Yeah, especially when at times, he's played a back five, which is essentially has become like a 5-4-1. Steve Trundle ahead. So my gut tells me you probably look to float those guys and see what tactically you can do against another team. So maybe one's on the right, one's on the left. 15 minutes in, you flip it, you decide on matchups, and there's a lot of flexibility when you have a winger like him who on paper should really tear up the league. And then you got Danny Buaga, who is tearing up the league. So it's again on paper, it looks like it would be just overwhelming. And at the end of the day, you can probably decide. Steve would probably have a little bit of a fun decision to make based on his tactics.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned Thomas Mueller, so let's get to that one. This one, I don't remember the last report on this one, but it feels like this one's done and locked up based off all the reporting. Thomas Mueller, out of nowhere to Vancouver Whitecaps. This is not a signing that I had on my bingo card this year of the Vancouver Whitecaps making this kind of a move, considering everything that's been going on around that franchise outside of just playing. I mean, they've got the ownership sale, the stadium is in a work. So this was a surprising move for Vancouver, but this is a statement for them for the rest of the season, knowing where they've been playing for most of the season. They had a little bit of a dip after Champions Cup, but this is a real statement of intent from them for the rest of the season.
It is. I mean, you maybe have more information than me. I don't know if it's done yet, but I definitely think it's probably exciting. Although, again, it's another one where it might test the identity of what Vancouver's been up to this point,
Yeah.
which is really kind of this gritty kind of team that, has decided that they're going to be tight in their shape up and down the field, very compact. And, they've been very good going forward and that group kind of going with them. And then they've really had a lockdown defense. Now, having said that, on a personal level, very similar to LAFC, I would have so much fun to see Mueller in this league. He is such a uniquely different player. His whole career has been proving coaches who think he's not athletic enough, not physical enough, not skilled enough. And all he does is go on the field and prove coaches wrong and prove that every year he's an impact for a team. He helps teams win. He's a winner. He wins championships. And again, you would think on paper he would just elevate that. And I'm as a fan, I'd be excited to see him in the league because again, he's one of those guys where I love soccer is that you can prove people wrong by just bringing your personality, your skills, your attributes, your mentality to a field to make a team win. And he does that year in, year out his entire career.
Yeah, this is a exciting move for the league for Vancouver. If you're the rest of the Western Conference teams that are battling with Vancouver at the top of the West, like Minnesota and San Diego are, it's not that exciting. You don't want to see this at this point in the season. Last I checked and the last I've seen, Tom Bogert said that the Vancouver Whitecaps are closing in on a total agreement on personal terms with Mueller. Final details remain. TAM signing in 2025, DP in 2026. So crazy transfer news there for Vancouver. And they also made another statement at the weekend, 3-0 win over Kansas City. San Diego did likewise, a 1-0 win over Nashville. That was, I think, more of the statement win of the three Western Conference leaders at this point. San Diego getting a massive 1-0 win over Nashville, two of the top teams in the league, two of the highest scoring teams and more really fun teams to watch in this league going at it on a Friday night.
Yeah, credit to San Diego again. This is a expansion team that is doing a lot of different ways right now. They got a lot of young signings that are really showing up, particularly on the defensive side of the ball. So, they've had a few spells there where we're trying to catch them a couple other teams, but that was a big win. Nashville has been playing some really good soccer. I wasn't surprised that it was still a close game, but I think it was kind of a comprehensive 1-0 win where I think they really felt like they were in control most of the time.
So then we get to Leagues Cup, where that started on Tuesday night, and Tuesday night was not great for the league. There was a lot of losses for MLS sides. There was the one win in penalties by Montreal, who I know everybody expected to be leading the MLS side of the phase after night one. But then night two came around, and then suddenly MLS teams started getting their wins, starting taking some taking some points from Liga MX's side. So let's jump into the recaps for Minnesota United. But your thoughts on so far on the first two nights of Leagues Cup play?
It is the summer of soccer is awesome, and like you kind of have this moment. You're like, whoo, another competition, a lot of stuff going on. I'm not sure whether it's going to resonate on a personal level. I was like, ooh, that's a lot. Last night, am I going to really watch 6 hours of soccer on a Tuesday night? Uh, yeah, the games are compelling. I mean, I didn't think I was going to just end up watching 6 hours, but there is something in the Leagues Cup when these MLS teams play Mexican teams that is just so intoxicating in terms of just like the growth of our league, the growth of Liga MX, dealing with our league getting really good. And the games to me and for the first two nights have been great. And you're exactly right. I mean, the Mexican teams, I think the highlight game for me was probably the Toluca coming back against Columbus. Columbus really had them in the first half, up 2-0. I thought they were running away with it. And then Toluca, obviously defending champions and Liga MX, came back big time and got the shootout win. So really compelling games, I thought, for the first two nights. And I know we're going to get to ourselves, both St. Louis and last night, but fun to watch, fun games, fun styles against each other. And it's off and running, and the crowds have been mixed. Certain stadiums have been awesome. Other stadiums, again, that's where the Liga MX, I think storytelling of what this can be right now is still not the best version of it. But I really like some of the additions they did this year. They've kept the league going during the same time, which I think is really important. I think they're going to get to the quarters faster, and then now every game is MLS versus League Max, which I think is so clever.
Yeah, this new format makes it a little bit more interesting for me rather than just having the 3 league games and then you go with an extended knockout phase, and it felt like things dragged on, especially in August when you're in the middle, when you're going right into the stretch of the season for Major League Soccer. It just felt like things dragged on a little bit too long at times. So the way they changed it up this year, I think, is a little bit more exciting for me and the average viewer, and I'm looking forward to seeing how this plays out. So let's jump into the recaps. We'll get to Minnesota. This 4-1 win last night, but first we got to start with the tough stuff, Manny. 2-1 win over St. Louis at the weekend, and this was probably the worst first half of soccer I've seen this team play all season.
I mean, it's close. It was up there, and I think it's really important that we be honest. It was just St. Louis came out with energy. They came out with effort. They kind of overwhelmed us. We made bad decisions, bad habits. We weren't quite, ourselves that we've been all year in terms of, yeah, we defend deep, but we don't give up a lot of chances. They got a lot of chances. They created a lot of chances. And really what I loved about the game, though, was there was this kind of just, we're not going to panic. We're going to go into halftime, and we're going to say we're going to play a little bit better. And I don't think we overwhelmed ourselves in the second half, but I think this group showed some maturity in that we're playing a team that's had not a great year. And more than likely, they're not going to play well for 90 minutes. And I just saw a calm composure and not a panic versus when you play that bad in the first half, you might give up a late goal in the first half to make it 2-0, and maybe it's out of reach now because that's how bad we were playing. No, I thought there were some great adjustments. I thought we came out with some energy. It's not like we turned it around right away, but I just think the guys knew that we're playing against a team that has not been that consistent all year, and we can still get them away. And it was. Oh, I really like winning games that you maybe shouldn't win, even tie sometimes, and on the road. And I just saw a level of maturity by our guys about going about the game is 90 minutes. It's not 45 minutes. Yes, we should be critical about the 45 minutes, but we also have a team that plays 90 minutes of soccer.
Yeah, I think the thing that kind of surprised me with how poor it looked in the first half was how St. Louis was winning every single 50-50 across the field. It just felt like our guys were a little bit like maybe a half second to a second too slow on every touch and every movement, and it felt like St. Louis were just ready and raring to go and really wanting to make a statement and show that this isn't going to be that bad of a season.
Yeah, they're not having a good season. They're in last kind of ditch to try to see if they can make a playoff run. There was clearly, there's tension in the front office. There's tension in the locker room. We're going to have games now from now on in that are going to feel like playoff games because certain teams, it is their playoff games. And there's individual livelihoods on the line. There's coaching staff's livelihoods on the line. There's front office staff's livelihoods. So again, we have to now understand that there's going to be games where the intensity of the level of some of these games are going to be like feel like playoffs, and we have to be ready to match that intensity.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The thing that surprised me in this match, outside of just how rough the first half was St. Louis starting their two new players, Devin Padelford, Sung Bin Jung, former Loons at that. Devin Padelford out
Whoa!
on loan.
I was about to
Sung Bin
say
Jung,
only one former Loon.
one former Loon. Devin Padelford will be back at the end of the season. Them getting the starts, 2 days into their St. Louis tenure was a little bit surprising to me, but I think they impressed with how they performed over their 70 minutes on the field, 70 minutes on the field with their new club, especially Padelford. I think he really fit in well with what they were asking him to do.
Yeah, I think we separate them. I know you said you're a little surprised. I just think that sometimes St. Louis needs to do something in the transfer window to try to shake things up because that's the kind of year they've had. And I think they're putting those guys in the field right away was part of just shaking things up. Say, hey, we've got some new energy in here. We're going to get that energy as quickly as possible into this group because we need something to get us going. When I separate out of two, I think you're right. Let's start with Devin. Uh, Incredibly happy for both of them, by the way. But I think Devin, let's focus on the fact that he is our player.
Mhm.
Um, our staff, the club feels like this is a great environment for him to develop and grow. We're really deep in that position right now at left center back or even left wing back. So it's exciting, and we're happy that we both won and we got to see that Devin gets some great development minutes. And again, I don't think there's anybody in the club that looked at this move like in a negative way. I think everybody's like, we know Devin is a talent that has a lot of potential. And in terms of center backs and left backs, he's very young still, very young. I mean, he's still 5 years away from his prime in terms of that development cycle. So really happy to see him, step on the field against guys that he'd been training with for the last 4 or 5 months and show some of his qualities that he's shown with us as well.
Yeah, absolutely. How many times do you think Eric Ramsey had to stop himself from issuing an instruction to Padelford in that first half when he was running past him?
Probably both of them. Probably both of them. So, and then you bring up Sangbin, and I really think I've got two thoughts. I think the first one is they put Sang in the middle a little bit, and he was really excited to run over the top and had some great touches and energy. Had that great chance in the first half. I think it was obviously for him getting a new environment is super exciting. This is one where just wasn't quite working out here, and I think for us. As a club, we wish him the best of luck. We hope he finds the environment culture because he's so young and has so much talent. And I really do hope that that happens for him. And it's a big moments for him because he has kind of done well at each environment he's gone to in the beginning, but it's kind of felt like it's petered out. So hopefully he's found a place where he now can really develop and grow the potential that he has.
Yeah, and they'll both have, as we mentioned, they'll both have plenty of playing time. It feels like in minutes to really show out their talents with the St. Louis team that has been struggling this season and kind of just needs a little boost down here at the final weeks of the season. Elsewhere, second half, some changes at halftime. Bonghukle Hlongwane coming in, Robin Lode coming in. It felt like things really changed in the second half for the Loons. Not drastically, but it felt like they were at least a little bit more in the match, and that ended up building up to 2 penalty kicks for Kelvin Yaboa, whose unique run-up really just threw Roman Berkey for a loop. The second one, he didn't even move on because he didn't know where Yaboa was going to go with his second penalty kick late in the match. But Yaboa's calmness, composure on those penalties was massive in the moments, knowing that Loons needed, for the first one, the goal just to equalize it up and get back in the game. And then the second one, with the game on the line with minutes left in the match, needing to score the goal. And he comes through both times, and Yaboa back in form, goal scoring form once again.
Yeah, I would say back in goal scoring form, but back in like game changing moments form that when we need him to step up and his ability to really turn and get that PK red card was massive. And I don't think it just happened out of the blue. I think Kelvin's been building a repertoire of just playing better and better every game for the last month now, where I think he's hungry in a way that, he maybe wasn't a month ago to really impact and change the game for us the way we did. And he was outstanding. And then, maybe it's a precursor to us talking about the Leagues Cup game, but his spot kicks have been unbelievable. The confidence he has, like you said, we're not talking about any goalie here. We're talking about one of the best goalies in the league, one of the best PK stoppers, and he just made both of them look so easy. His ability to kind of have that slow run up and then still get a ton of power and placement. I think Berkey just thought he would not have that type of ability to do that, and he would be able to save it. And the reality is, Kelvin right now is both in the run of play and set pieces is really in a great form.
I think these kind of wins for me say more about what your chances are and what your ability is in the playoffs than getting a than if you had just beaten them 3-0 or 2-0, because it forces you to kind of have to come back through adversity and makes you really bunker down and battle and really fight as a squad. And I think that's more helpful in the playoffs than just running over a team and just getting through the 90 minutes and walking through it as if you were the better team from minute 1 to minute 90. I think this says more about the team's chances in the playoffs than just running over a team like this.
Oh, I like how you said that. It gets me excited about where the team's going. But I think you're right. I think there's a compliment to this group that we haven't had to play behind a lot this year. We've had mixed bag when we've had to play behind, and this was a great example that I think this team is evolving to learn that there's different phases of 90 minutes of games. We're not going to always have a lead or be 0-0 at halftime. And I really enjoyed, to your point, seeing our guys having to problem solve, seeing our coaching staff having to kind of in-game manage to see if we could figure out a way to result. And they responded awesome that second half. It was a great 3 points, big 3 points, and we swept a team in the West. And I think you always know, I always say that sweeping teams in the West is huge points in the big picture for climbing that table in the West.
And not just 2 times, you beat them 3 times in different competitions. So
yeah.
that definitely goes a long way too. If you're looking to hone your skills on the pitch, Minnesota United has your back. Our youth clinics and development camps range from goalkeeper training to academy tryout preparation to good old-fashioned summer camps. We've got something for athletes of all ages and skill levels. Check out our camp offerings at MNUFC.com. All right, let's jump into Leagues Cup, where Saturday was a game that, man, it was really rough at times, but you squeak out the win. This one, very much different. A big statement of intent for the Loons in Leagues Cup, and really answering the question of how seriously this club was going to take this competition. Well, after the first night and having a lot of MLS teams kind of miss the boat and really not get on board right away, and knowing that that first game with how this new setup for Leagues Cup changes things. The first game proving pretty important for a lot of clubs, with a lot of clubs saying that if they don't win or they don't find a way to get points, then they may just play backups in the second and third game, because it's going to be really hard to make it out with only the top 4 teams from the league going through. Well, Loons make a statement of intent, 4-1 win last night, Manny. This is a massive performance that really got going from the get-go. This is a very different Loon squad than we saw on Saturday night.
It sure was. I mean, the statement of intent to me was also our club as well. I mean, again, Leagues Cup early on against not maybe a recognizable Mexican team name like a lot of other ones, like especially the one we're going to play Saturday, which we'll preview here. But Allianz Field, people showed up. People were buzzing. They were excited for this kind of competition between a Mexican team. And you just never know when you start this tournament where even our fan base moved. But the stadium shined. The players were ready, and then the stuff on the field was outstanding. I mean, not just the goals, just the moving the ball. I thought we dominated the midfield. Oh my gosh! In that first half, the kind of that box midfield with Pereira and Bongi and Lode and Owen just overwhelmed Querétaro. They just did not have any answers. Couldn't figure out how to get the ball. A little bit different than how we've played a lot of the year, where we really had a lot of the possession and creating chances and winning the ball back. So really fun as we dive into this one. Just comprehensive win last night.
Yeah, and this was, I like that comprehensive win, because it really got going from the beginning. As you said, the Loons were really good with their ball movement, kind of pulling the Querétaro defense out in different spots, and that led to Bongi Langwane's first goal of the match. And it's Leagues Cup, so of course Bongi's going to score, because that's what he does in Leagues Cup. What's his 9 goals in Leagues Cup for him over the past 3 years, over the length of this competition. One of the top goal scorers in this competition's history. Bongi Langwane just does it again. And going back and watching that replay, it's that last little touch right before it goes into the goal that you can tell just completely threw the goalkeeper, the opposition goalkeeper off, because he wasn't expecting Bongi to get that final touch and just push it past him. Otherwise, he would have been diving out already and kind of moving to block the angle. But that last little touch, the last nudge from Bongi to move that ball through, excellent for him. But the ball movement and the movement from Rosales on that play was excellent overall.
It really was. I mean, I like Bongi's sharpness and getting in pockets and turning and running and getting high and kind of getting in behind. It was all over there for 45 minutes, specifically with the goal. I mean, think about Bongi was the one who passed Joseph the ball. So
Yeah.
Bongi, you pass and move, and really Joseph was getting high. He believed that Bongi was able to turn and get into space. Joe was combining really well with Pereira. So on this one, really great pass by Bongi and then driving to the box. I would say Joe kind of had a half shot cautious, but Bongi's sharpness to get that, like you said, that first touch really like froze the goalie. And now the goalie's like, oh, was it too long? Is he going to get there? He's not. And the next thing you know, the goalie's just planted. Bongi has a clever, quick touch that doesn't have to be something hard and just goes in. So it was a fun start to the game, and I thought it was well deserved. Like I said, that passing kind of sequences, and let's give Kelvin a lot of credit in this too.
Mm-hmm.
He started really sharp, coming to the ball, moving really well. Some great first touches to kind of bring everybody up the field. Like I said, there was just a lot of good soccer. And then once we scored that first goal, really some sharp passing going on, particularly between Pereira, Lowe, Jean, Bongi. Like I said, it was I thought a really good show in a way that we hadn't put on at home this year.
You mentioned Kelvin Yaboa. He's next up in the goal scoring for the Loons and 4 goals on the night. And one of the best free kicks I've seen from this club in a very, very long time, just curling it around the wall, completely out of reach of the opposition goalkeeper. Just an incredible free kick where I thought it might have been Pereira who was going to take that and kind of cross it in and look for the far post, but it was Yaboa just getting over the ball, curling it around the wall and putting it in the back of the net. And Yaboa continues to stay in goal scoring form. As you said, just in generally overall great form from Yaboa last night in a really big spot for him.
It was obviously even the goal I felt even more deserved because we had such a good sequence of passing that led to Bongi's kind of half breakaway where he got fouled at the top of the box. I loved how the finish of the goal had a little dip to it when the goalie dives. So if it's goalkeeper height where he dives, it maybe makes the save. But it dipped, and then he's like, no, there's no chance. And then I thought we did a good job of not allowing the goalie to see the ball off of Yaboa's foot because it was at the goalkeeper's side of the wall. So traditionally, that doesn't always make it kind of happen right there. And then the other piece about it that if people go watch back, I will say the Pachuca center midfielder, their number 10, he might have been a little bit soft. He might have not wanted to put his head and get in front there. He kind of gave one of these, which is probably frustrating for the coach. I still think you can't take away from a Yaboa at the end of the day. It was a great free kick.
Yeah, excellent free kick from him. But yeah, I did see that on the replay where the guy in the wall kind of ducks out of the way and is like, okay, why are you in the wall in the first place if you're just going to duck out of the way? Why not just be the guy on the ground who was, funnily enough, the one who had administered the foul in the first place, and then his immediate penalty is you're going to be the guy laying on the ground. So if they go under the wall, you're going to be taking the brunt of it. So a nice little reward for him for that penalty, for that foul. Anyways, this was the rest of the first half. The Loons really did a good job kind of seeing out their lead. And then into the second half, they score a goal. They get it back and make things a little bit interesting. But once again, it's Anthony Marcanic scoring for the Loons. This time in play, off his right foot. What a great play from Marcanic, just kind of popping up in the right spot once again late in this match. And now, Manny, we went years just begging for one double-digit goal scorer, and now we're on the verge, I think 2 goals away. One for Marcanic, one for Yaboa, from having 3 different double-digit goal scorers. What a season. What a moment here for Marcanic, but incredible just display from him. Once again, popping up in the right spot and drilling it into the back of the net to kind of it felt like settle this game at that point in time.
Yeah, I mean, it's really funny you brought that up. I do look back at my playing career, my coaching career, GM career. Like, I actually really like the teams where we had years where it was not just one big goal scorer and everybody else was trying to like supply that guy to score, and that's how you solve the problem to win a game. But you just had multiple guys not going crazy and not even like contesting for the leading goal scorers in the league, but just a bunch of guys who scored, double digit or even anywhere from that 8 to 12, 8 to 14 range. Just because that's guys getting excited about getting high and getting going. So I will say that the ease of the game last night wasn't completely easy. There was that 10 to 15 minute period where, we that 2-0 kind of adage of being the most dangerous lead in sports came to fruition for a little bit in terms of like when Eric made some big subs. You'd hope that those guys would elevate. And unfortunately, that's when we gave up the goal. It was kind of a soft goal we gave up, I'm being honest. They didn't have a lot of chances in the game and a lot of opportunities. And it put us on edge for probably about 8 to 10 minutes of where we were like, okay, we're going to defend. We're going to try to get another goal. How are we going to solve that? We were very comfortably looking to win this game. And then we now have to do some work. And what I love is that the guys rolled their sleeves and did the work. I mean, we finished the game off with let's move the ball, let's get going, let's find another goal, but also let's not really give up any more chances. So I didn't feel like we gave up any chances at 2-1, which was huge. And then I just thought it allowed our guys to say, hey, we can also still go forward while we play good defense. And some great goals. I mean, we can talk about both of them in different ways. I mean, you've got to give a lot of credit to Julian Gressel's touch to Anthony, really. I mean,
Oh yeah.
yes, Anthony's is goal scoring machine now. He is deadly in the box. Do not let the guy get space in the box if he'll finish. Great techniques with the half volley, but that was a dirty by Mr. Gressel there. That was super clever.
Speaking of Gressel, and excuse me, and Rosales as well, I really liked how instead of just staying wide for most of the match from their position, they did tuck into kind of helping in the midfield as well in the attack when the Loons pushed forward last night. There really was kind of a nice wrinkle that I don't think we've seen too often this season from those guys, generally sticking wide, but those guys moved into the middle. I felt like I saw Rosales in the middle in the attack as kind of like a floating number 10 there when they were in attack quite a bit. And it was really fun to see how that changed the attack and changed things up when the Loons were moving the ball around. And those guys, as you said on the goal for Marannic, the pass from Gressel was excellent. And just having those guys tuck in a little bit and help out in the ball movement was a really cool, a fun wrinkle to see. And it really helped out the Loons in the attack. And then we end up closing out the night, Daniel O'Shea scoring, getting his 10th goal of the season, I believe, across all competitions. Just a really nice through pass into him and a breakaway, and takes it calmly, goes around the keeper and gets the open net, and really does the work of creating that open net and then converting on it and putting this game away at 4-1 in the first minute of stoppage time. Excellent little short game there for Oluwaseyi coming in the 63rd minute, but rounding it out with the 4th goal for the Loons in a very big statement win for Minnesota last night.
Yeah, people recap the second half. Like I said, there was some real management and some real kind of game situational stuff we had to deal with, particularly because it went from 2-0 and seemingly an easy night to 2-1, where now we really had to kind of problem solve both defensively and offensively to win the game. I think you mentioned it. We essentially kind of, in this game, had more of like a 5-2-2-1 kind of system. And that allowed, in the first half, it was Pereira and Bongi. In the second half, at one point, it was Rosales and Gressel. And really nice to see Gressel higher up, kind of in that inverted 10, where he looked pretty comfortable. He really was moving the ball. He made some good decisions passing, and obviously exciting. He had the amazing assists. So I think you're right. Tactically, there was some interesting stuff that we flowed through the game that was really exciting to see. Again, I think this team still has a lot more ability to evolve in terms of a lot of systems that they can play to solve problems. And it was fun to see different guys and then it being executed. I would say if we go back and recap, and I love doing it in my head because it was such a fun game and the goals were awesome. My favorite thing about the last goal, and obviously I love seeing Tani score. I think it was an important goal for him. Not saying he's dipped a ton, but it's kind of felt like he kind of dried up a little the last couple games. But really for me, the goal came from Owen. And Owen had this
Hmm.
sneakily another great 90 minutes. It reminds you of the game he played in Seattle, where you don't see him, you don't talk about him,
Yeah.
but I guarantee you he's close to 100% passing. For a center midfielder, that's awesome. That's amazing. Most of his passes were either square or forward. He did a great job of a couple 1-2s to really tear up their midfield when they were down a man at that point, and then really get the ball to Joseph in space where now Joseph can play that through ball. So really a fun goal, and like I said, a lot of contributions. I think sneakily one of the bigger contributors in the entire game, and on that goal was Owen. And I got to give him a shout out because I think it's exciting to talk about a young and upcoming player, and every time he seems to play, he seems to just keep getting better and better.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was the guy that we talked about there in June for a little bit. And the performance that he had. I know Will Trapp said it in one of the interviews that he did, that it's really nice just to have that consistency from him, from a young kid that you don't expect to have the consistency of the level from him. It doesn't feel like there's a whole lot of drop off from him. He's just there and putting in the hard work game in and game out when he does get the minutes. And that's really good to see from a really young kid coming over, getting his first minutes with Minnesota, or getting his first year with Minnesota and in MLS after coming over from France. And so a good performance from him, really nice performance to see from him. They'll need every single ounce of good performance coming up Saturday night against Club America, one of the best teams in the Northern Hemisphere in North America. This is a really exciting matchup and a big one, a massive matchup for Minnesota United, where I don't think we've had many of these in Leagues Cup play against this kind of this level of competition from Mexico. This is a really fun game on paper to look at because these are two very different teams. Roster builds very different. Club America spends all the money that they have, and they're one of the highest spending clubs in the West, in North America. This is going to be a really fun team with a lot of history for them, and they'll want to bounce back from a disappointing loss to Real Salt Lake last night in penalties. A shocking result there, but this sets up for a really good one because there are players all across the field that are recognizable for Club America that Loons fans and I know MLS fans will be excited to see how they go up, how the Loons stack up against Club America.
Yeah. All right, Jonathan. You set this up so well, and I'm gonna just blow it up and then come back with a question.
Okay.
No, I just want to I just wanted to finish last night because I feel like the game was so important and so good that Dane looked so sharp and so
Mm-hmm.
composed and this great leader in the field. Romero had another 9 out of 10 game. Dugan, oh, so good first half. Not just
Mm-hmm.
the defending, winning balls in the air, but the passing. Diaz energy and athleticism. I think I've now mentioned everybody that played last night, and I needed to do that because that's how good we were.
Yeah.
And I think now my own transition will be we're going to need that plus some on Saturday because you're correct. And my question to you is this the biggest club Minnesota United's ever played against?
In a competitive match, yes. I
Yes.
think the friend
Are you,
there's been a
you're
couple
saying like
friendlies against
Swansea,
Premier League clubs.
Bournemouth, like the Premier League clubs?
Aston Villa, Everton. I
Aston
think
Villa,
those
Everton.
would
Yeah. Okay,
in
so this is the
friendlies.
big
If you're including
competitive.
friendlies, then I think
No,
that changes things.
no.
But
Let's take.
if you're
Yeah, let's set it up for what it really is. It's probably the biggest competitive club we've ever played against.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
And people will
agreed.
want to say Inter Miami because Lionel Messi's on there, but that doesn't compare at all because
Manny's been around
the
2 years. Sorry, guys, you
yeah.
can't be the biggest
Yeah,
competitive club.
I
You've
get they
only
have the
been
greatest
around
player of
maybe
all time,
4 years. Yeah, but
but
that's
yeah,
and I don't think they're bigger than Club America yet.
no, absolutely not. I think this is the biggest club,
I think you're right.
or Minnesota United have ever played, and that's exciting, Manny. That's
It is.
that's
It
that's
really is. Yeah,
really fun to think about.
yeah, it is, and I think you're right. And this is going to be a tough one for us because they obviously dropped in a PK shootout last night. What a crazy game that was, by the way. RSL up 2-1 with 20 seconds to go, 96 20 seconds, and they tie it up and they lose in a shootout. They will now have a little bit more of the home field advantage in Houston.
Mhm.
There'll be a lot of their fans, and I love you, Minnesota United fans. I'm sure not a lot of you could make it down to Houston for this one. But I mean, I'm excited. Like I said, we played so well last night, and we're playing against one of the bigger clubs in this hemisphere. I don't know how you can't get excited for us to get a chance to take on a big club the way we've been playing too, I think we should be optimistic about competing really well and getting a win.
I know their roster is stacked with players to watch, but I'm going to give you the tough task. Who's the one player that you're excited to watch on Saturday for Club
Oh,
America?
it's weird. I mean, I was it Brian Rodriguez that scored the free kick last night?
I think so, yeah. Let me
You know,
see here.
and I know when he was at LAFC, I always enjoyed him.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I just for some reason he's still not producing the way he should in terms of goals and assists. But I always love watching him live. He's such a vertically direct player who really likes to run at teams, and he was obviously to me when LAFC was on that kind of waves of attacks with him and Vela. I really enjoyed that. Um, you, you know, it's hard to say where I go after that because they have such different kind of players who are just super like quick and clever. But again, I thought last night RSL handled them pretty well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you go toe
Give
to
me a
toe
few
with.
that you would like to really that you would enjoy watching.
What was that?
Give me a few players that you think you're going to enjoy watching on Saturday.
Alex Zendejas for me, just the U.S.
Yeah,
men's national team connection. I I like watching him play. I think he deserves more minutes with the U.S. I don't think he gets enough,
sure.
disappointingly. So I'm excited to see him. MLS's old friend Jonathan Dos Santos playing, so that'll be interesting. See, there's a lot. It's just this feels like a really fun team
Yeah,
to go against.
it's going to be fun, and they're it's a great kind of must-win scenario now for them. And in some ways, I don't know if it's a must-win for us, but it kind of does feel like we still need maybe 7 points to get to the final eight of this
Yeah,
competition. So it's important. I don't know if 6 points will do it. Maybe you're better at the math than me, but it feels like we need a lot of MLS teams to lose to get to the to six and go through. Or the nice thing is we were plus three goal difference last night. So
that'll help.
the result on Saturday matters. The score differential matters. All of it matters. So I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, listen, we are playing some of the best soccer in North America right now, and we're going up against historically one of the powerhouses, but they struggled against RSL at times last night. They had some great moments offensively, but they gave up a lot of chances. I don't think it was a smash and grab by RSL. I thought that was a fair result, and both teams had created a lot of chances.
Yeah, you get the goal early from Diego Luna, who just continues to rise and shine this season early on. 16th minute kind of sets the tone there for RSL, and they kind of go toe to toe with one of the biggest clubs in this hemisphere. That was really fun to see. So for fans who haven't seen Club America play, what's the style of play that the Loons will be going up against on Saturday night?
They're really quick in transition. Like I said, they've got a lot of clever, fast players that really, if this game opens up, which we're pretty good at not allowing it to, they
Mhm.
will hurt you because they will start running forward with numbers. They will really break lines. They'll solve problems by their first wave and then quickly repress to try to use that energy and then to create another chance. So um, again, we have to make sure we're hungry to keep our shape and keep that kind of discipline. And then I do think we're gonna have to move the ball a little bit more like we did last night. Again, there was some encouraging things for me last night. Was I thought we just and hear me talk about it, but when we dominate the midfield, we are so tough to beat. So I
Mhm.
think it's really important that we kind of deal with the fact that these guys are fast, they're quick, they can move the ball quickly, but they get frustrated and stretched if they can't get forward. And again, we've done well against teams that think they're going to get forward against us and then lose ways to kind of problem solve. So I think that midfield, however we do it, my guess is that, you know, fresh legs will come into play Wednesday to Saturday. So you have Will Trapp back in there. Robin got subbed out pretty early, so he should be fresh. Bacco probably comes back in. He played limited minutes last night. So hopefully we're sprinkling some fresh legs, but winning that midfield, I think, is the key. And really, it would be interesting to see how Eric decides to kind of evolve from last night to Saturday and what kind of lineup he has going against these guys.
I will say there's one thing that disappoints me about this match, Manning, that it's not being played at the Azteca.
I know. Well,
I want to see the Loons play at the Azteca. That'd be awesome.
listen. I'm like in this weird, and everybody's like, "Manny, what are you talking about?" Because I obsessively like I felt like these games have looked great on TV. Obviously, the crowds have been mixed. Some stadiums have been packed and awesome. I think early on, and it's the future of the league still needs to figure out what the best way to do the Leagues Cup. I just love talking about it because I think there's something here. I think even, adding some South American teams to this would be unbelievable. Maybe you're right. Maybe to like not have it here every year, maybe 1 year in the US, 1 year in Mexico would be a great way to really kind of spice it up where it's every other year in the certain countries. So to your point, who knows? Maybe in a couple of years we will be at Azteca.
That'd be really fun. That'd be awesome to see the Loons play at the Azteca because that's a historic stadium with a lot of
There is. Oh
bad
yeah.
memories for U.S. men's national team fans for sure.
No,
But
yeah, I've been there many times to watch games. It's a great place to watch games. So
yeah,
one of my favorite was I think the U20 World Cup. My dad did a coaching course in Uruguay, and we were coming back, and we had to go through Mexico. So he added an extra day. It was just me and him, and we went and watched the U.S. versus I want to say Australia, maybe like 90,000 people showed up
that's
for that
awesome.
game. It's crazy. Yeah, unbelievable. I was an 11-year-old kid watching that. Unbelievable.
That's awesome. That's one of my favorite stadiums on this side of the globe that I want to get to at some point in my life, and it would be awesome to see the Loons play there. But alas, the games are played in the U.S., so we'll play that one in Houston. Then Wednesday night we'll come back, play Atletico de San Luis at Allianz Field. Looking forward to this one. This is another interesting matchup against not normally a powerhouse in Mexico. What do you know? What's the scouting report on San Luis coming up Wednesday night, 7:30? That game will be played before we talk again here on this podcast.
Yeah, I mean, let's project because it's fun. We won the first game. Let's get excited about quote unquote winning this group, but it's more about accumulating as many points as we can against other MLS teams across all the games. But they lost 4-0 last night, correct?
Yep, yeah, they lost 4-0
So
to Portland, who got a goal within the opening minutes of that match.
and do they now? Who do they play this weekend?
Oh, let me see here. I don't have it off the top of my head. I'm sure there's people screaming in their cars. They play Real Salt Lake this weekend.
Okay, so long story short, if they lose this weekend, it's hopefully a huge opportunity, and hopefully have huge fans turn out. And hopefully,
Yeah.
we have a good result this weekend because they might not be playing for much. And when I say that, like I think they're a good side. The highlights I watch. I didn't watch the game last night. Portland scored every time they shot. San Luis seems like a good functional team, but maybe a little bit like Querétaro, where they're still trying to figure out what their strengths and weaknesses are in their lineup. They have a lot of Brazilians on the team. It's a very, very Brazilian heavy team, and
João Pedro.
yeah, and their season kind of just started, so it'll become a dangerous game. I just feel excited about it. Like I said, last night was such a cool vibe, and I love our league games, and I love the MLS games because the vibe's great. Last night, Allianz Field had just a different feeling. So I can't wait for next Wednesday, no matter what. And I want people to really get out there. I had so many people go to the game last night and just enjoy playing against a different type of team, a different type of competition style. And San Luis will bring that. They're not one of the big powerhouses, but I think their roster is a little bit stronger right now than Querétaro's. So let's see where they are in the standings on the last game day, and let's see where we are. But it'll be a fun one. There's no doubt about it. It won't be easy. There's no easy games. And the one thing about the Mexican teams, they're very clever at competing within a tournament and getting better as the tournament goes. So I would expect by the following Wednesday, we're not playing the same team that lost 4-0 to Portland last night.
Yeah, and that's kind of a result that they'll want to move on from quickly, and we'll see how they respond Saturday night against Real Salt Lake, whether they do in fact play all their starters and try and get back in this tournament, or they just kind of move on and realize that it's going to be a tough hill to climb. And but yeah, there's a lot of good players on this squad. This is a team that comes in opening the Apertura with a 1-0 win over Leon, and then with consecutive defeats against Monterrey and Chivas. So it's a team that wants
consecutive defeats, but not by a lot.
Losing it was a 1-0 loss to Monterrey and then a 4-3.
There's no shame in those games at all. So they're like I said, I'm excited. It's hard for me to think about it because we got Houston on Saturday against Club America. Going to be awesome. But to your point, last night was amazing. I can't wait.
By the way, the scheduling gods did them no favors with that opening to their season.
Oh, that's true. That's a great point. So, and there'll be good games tonight, by the way. That Monterrey Cincinnati game is the one that I've kind of looked at, excited to watch. I think that's going to be a really good game.
Yeah, there's Yeah, there's still plenty. I like that it feels like every day there's more games coming up, that there's no off days. So a lot of good games. Cruz Azul, Seattle, that one should be
That
a
should be a
good
good
one
game.
tonight
Yeah.
as well.
Yep. Yeah, I agree.
Uh,
That's late, right? That's 10 o'clock.
yeah, that's a 9:30 kick. The late one, the one that closed it all out, LA Galaxy, Tijuana. That should be
Yep.
interesting for very different reasons.
Oh yeah.
But
So
yeah,
this is what's happened. Like I told people this yesterday. Literally, like I'm like, there's no way I can't watch it from 6 till midnight. But I will because
you'll
they've
have
been.
to, yeah.
Yeah, I'm giving the league has created something, and then by the way, it's both leagues that is really compelling to watch on TV. I mean, these are really every game. I want to see how our MLS guys do against the Mexican teams. And the Mexican teams are very uniquely different in their own way. The rosters are shaped a little bit different, but it's been very competitive. You know, that Miami game yesterday was very competitive. That was a
Yeah.
much closer game. Obviously, it was 2-1 in the ninth, but it wasn't all one-sided, where Miami just was dominating. Atlas had a ton of chances. That game could have gone either way.
Yeah, there was a point in that game where it felt like Miami were kind of winded and Atlas were really just
Yep.
hammering them late in that match. So, yeah, these
And by
games
the
are
way,
very
Messi was
competitive.
amazing. He was
Of course, yeah.
just ridiculous last night.
That's
You
what
can't,
happens when you have a week off because you can't
oh
play
my
on
gosh.
Saturday,
Yeah, I mean it's
week and a half.
yeah, go check out those highlights. It feels like he's getting even more excited about, having these like breaking lines, unbelievable, insane passing assists, which is just making him even more dangerous in the league.
How does Rodrigo de Paul change things for them?
Uh, I just think it frees up Busquets to not do all the defensive dirty work. It adds a player because Busquets had one of the best passes last night
Oh,
in that game that helped Messi kind of get that game winning assist. I would say, oh no, actually, first both goals. I would say it's huge for them. I don't think he's sharp right now. What I watched yesterday is a player who's had the summer off, who came and trained for less than a day or two and looked a little bit not sharp. But I do think in a month it balances them in a way that allows, I think, Busquets to bring out more of his attributes offensively. I think it gives him a little bit more grit in the midfield, and I think it really presents them as the team probably that should be favored to win the East now.
by the way, how confident do you have to be in yourself to wear a flowy half-on button shirt in front of a stadium full of people at your introduction?
Oh, I
Like
mean,
Rodrigo de Paul did. I guess these guys are in shape, but that takes a
yeah,
level of confidence that
and they're going to Miami. They're South Beach in it. That's what they do.
this is quite the statement from him. Okay, before we talk next, 2 games for the Loons. How many points do they get out of these 2 games?
You were talking about the Club America San Luis.
Yep.
I listen. I'm all in, man. We played awesome last night.
Going
Let's
6 points?
let's shock the world. Let's do it. Seriously, why not? I mean, we
I
are
like
not
it.
favored this weekend, so
Oh
let's
no.
let's let's
Yeah.
let's go out there and get 3 points, and then if we win this weekend, I don't see how we lose the following Wednesday. Just knowing our guys and where we are, so I'm excited taking a game at a time. It won't be easy this weekend. I mean, obviously, I want the 3 points, but if we can sneak a shootout win or even a shootout loss, we potentially could be in good place. So, but let's see where we go. Like I said, I watched that Club America last night. We're gonna have to play really really well to get a result, but I think the guys are excited about that. It's gonna be great game for array of reasons. Not only the competition itself, for the future of this team, the experience of playing against such a big club, against a quality team, and then hopefully remind ourselves we are a quality team, guys.
Yeah.
This is really a quality team, and every time we step on the field, I never feel like we're not ready to compete or win a game.
Yeah. This should be a really fun one, despite being heavily not favored this weekend. This is Club America, clearly the favorite team for many a reason. The more historic club, the bigger roster build. This is going to be fun to see how the Loons
Hey,
stack up.
Jonathan, before we go, I saw a little break. You had a little like kid time for a half second, right?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. So just to make you feel better too, I'm in like I've got puppy duty this morning.
Okay.
So can you see the puppy? No.
A little bit more down on the camera for the YouTube watchers. Now we got you.
There we go.
There
There
we
we
go.
go. So there's my morning too. So there you go.
Yeah,
All
my
right.
kid came back from speech therapy, so he wanted to bust in right away,
Oh,
knowing
nice.
that I was down here and wanted to bust in. Mom came to the rescue, though.
Yeah, please tell him I said hello. So
Will
I'll
do.
do this. Wait, give a little lungs. There you go. All right.
There's the YouTube clicks. That's all we needed.
Get him to the stadium. Yeah.
Looking forward to it. Manny,
Yeah.
looking forward to these games. This should be really fun to see how the Loons stack up over the next week. And it'll be fun recapping it all next Thursday, next week, when we come back and record here on the podcast. Thank you, Manny. Good stuff from you today. Thanks to the production staff, Grace Dearson, Kyle Hayward, and Evan Entler for putting this on every week. Loons fans, will talk to you next week.
Cheers, guys.